Welcome back to the Rookie Carver. And I tripped over this square piece of basswood and I just drew some quick lines on it. I'm thinking a pumpkin. Everyone's doing pumpkins these days, so why wouldn't I? Let's use this. Let's see how it does here. Draw a cut. Alright, we're sharp. Alright. Carve away from us. There was a chat yesterday on one of the YouTube pages, and it talked about grain. And there's a lot of feed on that. Someone, new carver, asking about how do you know which way the grain goes in a piece of basswood. And, you know, I think fundamentally it's easy to say that the grain goes this way because you can see where they chop the end of it, right? So it's smooth, so the grains are going this way. But I think what was really being asked was, you know, when you get into a carving, especially characters and stuff like that, the grain, the end grain reveals itself in other spots. So for example, on this square there's no end grain right here, but the minute I carved this, that's end grain, right? And I think what they were asking was, you know, when you're carving, how do you know? And the reality is, you're always gonna, from my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong by all means, but you know, that end grain is gonna exist one way or another. And sometimes, depending on which, you know, so I'm going this way, I'm cutting straight across that end grain, and it works, right? Like it goes like butter. But when I turn around and I start cutting this way, I'm literally catching the end grain, and it's not going to be as smooth. So I think that's what they were asking, and the reality is you're always going to be dealing with end grain. A sharp knife, in my perspective, is the right answer. The sharper your knife, the easier it is to deal with end grain. You've had it said 1,000 times, it should look clean and glossy. Hopefully the sun is helping you see that, right? But yeah, so anyway, it was an interesting conversation. I was kind of disappointed because, you know, as a new carver, what I appreciate most is when I get on those forums and I ask what could be to a seasoned carver, you know, like so rudimentary that it almost seems like a ridiculous question, but it's not a ridiculous question. It's not a ridiculous question to ask, depending on your journey. And I think, you know, that humility and remembering that when you started, you probably had a lot of ridiculous questions. So I guess if you're a seasoned carver, be patient with us new carvers and our crazy questions, because you've been doing it forever. It's common sense. It's common sense because you've got that time in. It's not necessarily common sense for everybody else, and you know, people have varying levels of experience. So, you know, with even with tools and other things that they may or may not transfer over to carving. So be patient with people, and you know, how do you find the end grain, I think was the question. Someone asked look, or someone answered look, and I don't know, I think that seemed like kind of a dick answer. How about that? I said it. You know, I think as human beings we can be better than that. So, yeah, anyway. So this 2-inch block, you know, like I said, I might have to take a pause and sharpen all my knives up here. It's been sitting out. Feels a little harder than normal. I mean, the blade's cutting it nicely, but I'd like to be peeling off a lot more than I am right now. So, but you know, like I said, if it's hardwood, just smaller cuts is what I've been doing. Makes life a little easier. Now, like I mentioned, I'm at my trailer today. Well, actually, I'm at my trailer for the weekend. Fun fact. And Thursday is maintenance day, and that was yesterday. So for this part of the park, and it looks like they're just doing some cleanup. So if you hear a leaf blower going and stuff like that, welcome to fall, whether you want to admit to it or not. Fall is here. And they're doing their thing. And you know, when I'm at home, I can't control the trains and that background noise, and clearly when I'm here, visitors and the friendly waves and walk-bys. That's just gonna happen, so we'll be distracted. Some of it will get edited out, some of it won't. C'est la vie. It's kind of a big weekend for us because you may or may not know that I've got this big lug of a dog. He's a 130-pound Cane Corso, and he's a little reactive to animals, and by little I mean a lot. He's great with people, but he's very reactive to animals, and this park is apparently really good for policing that people keep their dogs on leash, and that's really all that matters, and then it can be enjoyable for everybody. But he loves his dad a lot, and he will come over and nudge and probably knock this, just waiting a matter of time for him to come over and knock the camera off or over. But yeah, anyway, so just so you know, if anything chaotic happens, it's the meathead, or if you see some black fur wandering around, and that's him. I was hoping to get Carve earlier today, but I've got a new thing I got to do now, because usually when I camp I don't bring them because I can't control other people and their dogs. And today we went for a nice walk, and he liked it. It's quite comical because he's so powerful. So I took him camping one time, and someone's dog ran on our site, and I had him hooked at the back of my trailer. There's a, call it the leash hitch, so it's in there pretty securely, and I had him hooked up to that with like a 15-foot wire rope cable, you know, a dog tie-out thingy. And this dog came running onto our lot, and he went running after that dog, and he has so much power that he actually moved all the stabilizers off the blocks on my trailer. So he literally moved bumped my trailer out probably 2 inches, and it's a 7,000-pound trailer, fully loaded. So that gives you an indication of power. So for this seasonal site we have now, I did some research, and what I bought was this ground anchor system. And luckily it's nice hard ground here, so should get full strength out of it. This ground anchor system that's hammered in with 8 spikes or 6 spikes that are 8 inches long, and it's rated for 2,500 pounds. Apparently farmers use them for tying bulls out when they don't want them to go places. So I bought that, just hammered that in, and then I bought 2,500 pound aircraft tie down cable, 10 feet long, so he doesn't have the same leverage he had before. It's a little shorter, but you know, he's not he likes at home, he doesn't ever get tied up because he's got a nice fenced yard and he's always free reining, so he's not a big fan of the I got tied up, but it's for his benefit and everyone else around us. As long as no one's dog comes on, we're good, and he won't be busting out. Also got him a tactical harness so that it's not pulling on his neck if he does go running after something. So I think I've done everything I can to protect him, but we're not here for my dog, we're here for Carve, but he's kind of a big deal, big part of life. So so back to this grain thing. So I don't know if you noticed that when I carved this way, it came right off as a chunk, right? It wasn't smooth, that first piece was a little deep, and it just broke off. So the grain isn't perfectly up and down, it's kind of like this. So when I caught it, it ripped and came off. When that happens, like every other carver I've watched, that's just go the other way. So if I'm carving this way and it comes off as a chunk, that's a nice clean slice. But if I'm carving this way and it starts chunking on me, either go off on the side a little bit, a little more of an angle, right? I've been finding these to be pretty good. Off on the side, but yeah, see, you can see the difference. If I go nice, it's good. If I try and get aggressive with it, it tends to chunk off and it leaves this weird grain pattern. So yeah, see, I was just trying to recreate it there for you. See, you can see that grain pattern, but when I go this way, I can get really fine on it and just take it nice and off. So don't worry too much, unless of course you're into the meat of your carving, and that's a pretty significant part. You just chonk it off. For the most part, most things are very forgiving, right? And sometimes it works in your benefit. Like I'm trying to remove a lot of wood right now, so you can see when it breaks off. when it breaks off, it actually helps you. See, that's what I'm talking about. If I was going the other way, that probably wouldn't happen. But I can prevent it just a little bit. Okay? Alright. Now there may be some distractions.
It's just kids.
Because
see them playing?
the big guy's checking things out.
There's kids across there throwing a ball or something. No, straight through from me.
Oh. So you guys can see them and I can't. Alright.
Got the wrinkles all up.
Alright. You know the one thing I don't enjoy about 2-inch carvings, and I'm assuming it gets worse the bigger, is the rough out. It's hard on the hands. I bought myself a scroll saw. I actually bought myself 2 scroll saws because I'm out of control. Today at 7 o'clock I'm going to pick up a bandsaw, and I'm buying those for the intent of expanding what I can carve and reducing the amount of rough out I have to do. You know, it's like you can do it. You know, obviously I've been doing it, but this part is not enjoyable, and I like the gratification of getting things done. And if I get an hour of carving and all of a sudden it takes me an hour just to get the rough out done, I don't feel accomplished. I like to be able to like have it enough finished that I could show it to somebody and go, hey, look what I did. So I think that that part is what I enjoy most. So if I can, I'd like to get into some more intricate pieces, but the time to rough out is a challenge for me. I mean, we all have busy lives, and I don't have all day to carve usually, but today I pretty much do. You know, aside from a couple walks with my boy, being forced to make coffee because I'm the coffee guy. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. This is going to be a long, cumbersome. No. This chip apron does a good job of catching chips, most of them, unless you're getting aggressive. And some of them might fly over. So, what the heck are you doing, Dave? Why are you doing this? Well, I got a pumpkin on my mind, but I don't have an actual vision aside from the shape of a pumpkin. And as far as the face and all that chaos, that's all just gonna happen. It's all just gonna happen in the moment. Is he happy? Is he sad? Is he laughing? Is he, what is he? You know, but I do have to get him a little rounder than that. So I'm just, every time I think I got him round, I realize I went too far around the square, and I've got them made back into a square again, so a wild man. Are we getting there? I don't know if we're getting there. Anyway, I'm going to pause this right now. I'm just going to continue carving around this, making it round. And then we'll return once I've got it turned into a cylinder. In hindsight, if I'm carving pumpkins in the future, I'm just going to buy a big piece of wood or dowel like that, round, and start from there. Alright, boys and girls, we got the bottom cleaned up. I left this part on the top a little crappy. It's a little more pumpkin-esque in shape. It is not perfectly round, as you can see, and that's okay. Are we carving the flat face, or are we carving... This is definitely the top. So my intent is to just leave like, there's a lot of guys that'll carve something 12 times, and I love that for learning. They're just amazing. They get good, and all their pieces look exactly the same. I don't have that mad skill, and I find that I end up carving whatever the heck it's going to be, almost like, you know, a Jesus take the wheel kind of carvings. So let the wood speak to me, as I like to say. And I don't know, I've made a lot of fun things I've enjoyed just with that train of thought. So don't get discouraged. That's it. You're following the Rookie Carver for a reason, because you want to see me screw up and you want to see me adapt and overcome. And I want you to have that same mindset. You got this. Okay, we're going to go just a little deeper. I want that nose to be a little more pronounced. Why? Because I do. Okay. So, that squirrel is up there just lipping off to my dog. Probably in his stomping grounds. He's been every day probably, you know, doing what he does, and now he's got a 130-pound monster sitting where he needs to do his shopping. So that squirrel's not happy with Samson.
Huh?
That squirrel is unhappy with Samson.
Is he chattering at him?
Yeah, I don't hear him. Listen.
Oh, I heard something.
Yeah, that's him.
Where's he at, though?
In that tree.
Oh.
He's angry because he's probably been shopping here every day. This is his supermarket, right? This is where he goes to get places, or there's food around here, and now he's got the beast being a problem.
Chattering back at
Hmm?
him.
Yeah. So, what do you think? You can still see the eyes. We'll put those eyes back in now that we're a little deeper, and we got a little more of a nose. So, I'm just gonna do the bottom part of that nose now. I want a nice upper lip on this guy. Give me an opportunity to put some character in there, so I'm just gonna cut that nose. And see, they're not all great cuts. They're not all great cuts. I'm not gonna get crazy, Dave. Don't get crazy. Most of this is chatters for my benefit, not yours. And I don't mean the squirrel. I mean my rambling. Yeah, you can see what I've done here. All right. Get them in here. Everything is surmountable. All right, see what I'm doing here. Get that mouth outlined a little more.
Wrinkles. Every time he sees something, people walking by.
Yep, yeah. So this is that grain thing again here. Apparently grain is the theme, right? Like as I'm cutting across this is that weird grain. And it's wanting to just bust off, and it could change the carving dramatically. So we're gonna cut from a different angle, right? We're gonna take our time. Just try and control it as much as we can. And make them cuts, not chunks. Okay. See that? So now you can see what I'm talking about. So this, see how this chipped off? And this is smooth. It's just a matter of realizing, okay, the grain's off there. So, but if you go slow, it's not deep, you can compensate and actually handle it. It's like I want this a lot deeper because I'm looking for some big old juicy Barney Fife lips. That's for my Simpsons fans there. Yeah, and obviously I don't want to have this kind of shenanigans going on here, so let's just shave some of that off. Okay. And you know, I'm not the only one you're watching. I know you're out there looking at everybody else, and that's okay. But just know, everybody's going to say the same thing. If you're carving, and you're like, oh, I don't understand. You guys have better wood. I had the same thinking when I first started, and the reality is, I've been buying wood from Amazon. I bought some wood off Temu, just because, I'm pounding through these pieces of wood, and I said to myself, I'm just gonna try it all. Why not? Why not? And I'm finding that the wood makes no difference. Pay an arm and a leg for wood and come across things like that. I can buy dirt cheap wood, come across things like that, and at the end of the day, it's just about how are you going to handle it. And the most important part, a sharp knife, a better knife. So this is my flex cut carve knife that I just bought. I'm enjoying it. But like I said, this is kind of a weird tip on it. It's a Pro series, so it's got a little harder carbon, but it is sharp, and the sharp knife is really what makes a difference. So you see us, people carving, and I was doing the same thing, whipping across end grain like Doug Linker and Johnny Layton, especially, make it look like whoop, like nothing. Gene Messer, they carve, and you're like, I've upgraded my knives. So I had that KCT, which is a good knife apparently, and I always enjoyed it. Did a good job. And then I bought the Mike Shipley OCC blade, and it was a phenomenal knife, and I still love it. And then I was like, well, I need to know what the hoopla is about, because clearly this is not a fad anymore. I've got all you following me and supporting me, and I really appreciate that. And if you're not subscribed already, I'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I try and put a couple videos, for sure a video a week out, sometimes more, sometimes just a short update, sometimes a little longer, but yeah, I appreciate you subscribing and liking, and definitely engage. Comments are really appreciated. Helps with the engagement and gets my videos out there to more beginners. So okay, I'll go back and put these eyes in now.
Dude just walked behind that truck and just a couple wrinkles up, didn't even lift his head. Watching him, but
Yeah, pop. The other thing I've seen, and it keeps I'm guilty of not doing it all the time, but it makes perfect sense, is don't go on a rampage of carving on one side and then switch over. And that might be my biggest problem with my symmetry, is I get too hung up on one side and I'm like, oh, that's good, then I try and recreate all those cuts on the other side, and I always say, just do one side then do the other. And trying to do that a little more unsuccessfully, but I'm trying. So yeah, here. Cut from the other way so I don't wreck my nose shape. You know, I could, you know, the journey. So I'm looking at him, right? He's gonna have these big lips hanging out, hopefully. But look at the shape of those eyes. Is it just me, or could those easily be sunglasses? If I shave this nose back a little bit, so it looks like the glasses are coming over top here, just do a little line on each side of that. Dude's wearing sunglasses with a nose and this. And then when I do those, you know, longitude lines of the pumpkin to create that shape around the whole thing, you know, it'll clearly be a pumpkin with sunglasses on, nose, lips. Or I can just detail these eyes out. So I'm not going to touch the eyes again until I determine what I want to do there. But yeah, that's like I said, this is your art, so you do what you want with it. And if you're not happy with it, do something different next time. You know, or just keep carving until you're happy with it, or you've made a whole pile of shavings and you don't have a block of wood anymore and you have to start over. Also a viable option. Now this end grain stuff is a pain in the butt. I don't think there's a carver out there that tell you it isn't, but it's not unsurmountable. It's just a pain. Probably the biggest pain in the butt. So, small cuts, nice and clean. So I just did an outline of what I'm trying to achieve there. Now I'm doing an angle to meet that initial line. I don't know if you've, if you're someone who paints your carvings, one of the things I've been finding is when I carve, it bleeds. So I did a lot of research, and you know, there's a lot of techniques out there for sealing the wood before you carve, which I think helps with the longevity of it too. Like, it doesn't dry out as much. But there's products out there, and then there's like old school, a mix of white glue and water and coat it, and it just kind of creates a seal. But more importantly, what it does is it slows down bleeding and you go through less paint. So if you're someone who paints your carvings and they're acrylic, you put some kind of coating on this to seal all the grain. That way when you put your paint on, the paint stays on top and doesn't absorb into it. And apparently you can do cleaner painting lines and stuff like that. So I'm actually trying out a product called Oxford sanding sealer. It's used on guitars, but it came highly recommended. So I'm trying that out. So there'll be a video. I'll put the link up there. The video is basically doing two pieces. My plan is to do two pieces. One I'm going to seal, one I'm not, and then go through the process of painting and everything and share the feedback about whether I notice a difference. And then obviously both of them will be painted, and you know, you'll have a look at them as well and be able to tell me if you see a difference between the two. But it might be less of about a difference and more as far as visually, and it might just be more about how much paint I use, or how much easier the application of it is, or how more vibrant the color is. We don't know. But if you want to come on that journey, keep an eye out, because that video will be coming, and when it does, I'll come back to this video and I will update it, and I'll put a link right there. I just recently learned about cards on YouTube, so apparently I'm going to be able to put a little thing right somewhere, like right there, whoop, whoop, and it's going to have just going to have a quick, you know, it'll talk about, it'll be some kind of fancy title about sanding sealer, improving your painting, or something like that. It'll be obvious. If you watch this video, you will know. You'll be like, yep, that's the one he's talking about. And you'll know for sure because there'll be a link in the video. So stay tuned for that. I'm intrigued. Wasn't sure how much of a painting guy I was going to be. When it comes to houses, it is absolutely my least favorite thing on the planet to do. But I'm finding it relaxing and enjoying. I'm enjoying it as much as the carving. just carving I miss. Like, that's crazy. So I travel for work, I don't take my stuff with me. So those are gaps in time in my channel, so I appreciate your patience and the fact that you keep coming back. But yeah, I find I miss it. And I'm like, I'm going through withdrawal and I just want to hammer something out. So yeah, I think that's... But the painting is fun. So what I've been finding, what I do with the painting is, if it's raining or crappy out, because I love to carve outdoors, winter's gonna suck, so I feel like, I'll be making a mess in the house with my chips. But I got a pretty supportive partner, unlike my buddy Jay. His wife's terrible. I'm kidding, she's not terrible, she's just not as cool as my wife, and I have to say that because my wife's in earshot. But so you can see that's going to be the stem. There's the eye. So we're in a good spot. I'm going to give this some think before I get too far along, because I have to make a decision about sunglasses or eyeballs. I'm leaning towards the eyeballs, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got the idea that, you can... It's a journey. We can just take this journey wherever we want. You know what? If you were like, hey, I'm going to try and carve something similar to that, because, you're not duplicating me. You don't need my permission to carve something I carve. Reality is, it's going to be your own piece of art. I find a lot of other people's stuff for inspiration, and I can't replicate it exactly or close enough for my liking. And that's fine. We're not stealing glory here. We're just here to carve and have a good time. The other piece that I found quite interesting was a whole conversation about using Dremels and stuff like that. Like, is that cheating? And I don't think it is. I guess the way I'm trying to rationalize in my head is, are you carving or whittling? And maybe they're the same thing to some people, and I don't know. I've just kind of got them split up in my mind a little bit, and the way I work it out is, whittling is, I got a piece of wood and a knife, and I'm just gonna hack away at something and make something, kind of like what I'm doing. And carving is a lot more intricate details. Like, I would think that the minute I pull out a V-gouge, technically I went from whittling to carving, because I'm using other tools. So that's my 2 cents, and I don't think one's wrong and the other's. Maybe it's a natural progression. Maybe what you're doing is a lot more detailed. At the end of the day, why are you carving or whittling? And if the answer is it's relaxation, or it brings you joy, or whatever it is, that's the reason you're doing it. And if that doesn't change because all of a sudden you're using a Dremel, you just keep doing what you're doing, whatever works. I think there's people that are, apparently I just made a decision right in front of your eyes here, because I'm carving the eyeballs out. Just do what brings you joy, man. That's like, I said, I'm buying, about the scroll saw and about all this kind of stuff. And the reality is, I just want to carve, and it's going to speed it up. I mean, arguably, the minute I use a scroll saw or a bandsaw or whatever and start chopping my pieces into closer things, am I really whittling? Not by my definition. And why do I care, right? We're all playing with wood. We're all having a good time. I mean, I think if you decided that you were going to start making furniture, good on you, but that's not carving. That's woodworking. Signs and stuff like that, I think, are woodworking. Although relief carved signs and pictures and stuff like that definitely are carving. I mean, you're using carving tools. So I don't know. It's like semantics. It's 100% like semantics. You got an opinion on that, let me know. But I'm good with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up to my detail knife. If you're quite impressed with my collection of corks, I was at a winery and I asked if they had any extra corks for me, because I wanted to put my blades on these, and they gave me a bag that must have 500 corks in it at this Casaba, because apparently it's not Casaba winery. They gave me a whole bag. They just keep them for people when they ask. So for now, I'm going to do this. But I did have a follower say, you know, in the tool bag, I stabbed myself the other day and had another Band-Aid that used tubes. Because then you can see the blade behind it and protect yourself. So I figured out how to use the toolkit in a previous video. I'll put it up there. Proper use of the toolkit that I learned from chipping away. But then I go reach into my toolkit and slice my fingers open. So they suggested, as much as a cork will work, if you're buried in the cork, you won't know which blade you're looking at. So, and I was like, that is a very valid point. And this is some intricate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knock the edge off that first before I get crazy. So this knife here, this is my latest pride and joy. I bought this at the same time I bought that flex cut I've been using for the lion's share, that flex cut carver, for the lion's share of my stuff here. But this is next level knife. This is a Badger State detail knife. And it's ultra thin. It's got this really wicked point on it. And it is sharp. Wow, it's sharp. I can tell you, I carved, I had one, I can't remember what the piece was, my Viking or something. Anyway, it just happened the other day. I had a piece of wood, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, this little spot right here needs to be trimmed. And the detail knife would be perfect, so I just grabbed it. I didn't put my glove on or my thumb, and I went and I was like, tick, 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 tick. And then when I was looking at it, was holding the knife, and I just poked myself ever so lightly, and I'm like, okay, and I'm looking, and I spin the piece around, I'm checking it, make sure there's no more spots. All of a sudden I look and there's a red blood spot on it, and I'm bleeding. So the damn thing's sharp. And I blood christened my my piece. So it's the latest stain trend, so I don't recommend it. But if you're looking for a nice red color, repeatable, it'll do the job in a pinch. If you're, out in the bush and you think to yourself, man, I just carved this nice piece. I need the color red. I want to paint it. It's an option. An unrecommended option, but it's an option. Yeah, look at the sharpness of this thing. Just ridiculous. This is a wicked knife. Oh, see? Every time I do something and then I look at it, I'm like, man, okay, the character is it's like the world's oyster. Okay, look at this. Look at this mouth. My intent was to carve down here, make a thin bottom lip, thin up lip, and put teeth. But look at that bottom lip. Look at that smile. I'm like, I think I'm leaving it like that. And it's not that I'm being lazy. It's like I looked at that and he's speaking to me right there, like, yo, and I'm down. I'm like, you know what? I see what you're laying down. So once again, I'm having issues with my GoPro camera. So what I was doing was I was talking about how I cut myself with my new Badger State detail knife, and I was literally looking at the piece I was carving. And I was holding it, and I spun it around, and I just ever so slightly touched the tip of it to my fingertip. And like I said, then I was like looking at the carving. All of a sudden I turned around, there's a red spot on it where I was bleeding. So they're very sharp. I'm seeing lots of posts on Facebook about people getting stitches, and so even when they're sharpening their knives, wear your gloves. So yeah, they're not toys by any stretch. Anyway, I had continued carving, and there's going to be a huge gap because not only did I draw the lines where I thought I was leaving off, I took my new large V tool that I bought, that file Swiss-made one, and went down here. It's not done, but at least I've got the lines where I want it to be, as you can see. And like I was talking about with the face, assuming that continued on, I only went to the top where the brow is, and just a little bit on the bottom like most people did. And there's that facial expression that I happened upon and I really enjoyed. So anyhow, I'm going to continue to trim this up. I have zero faith in the GoPro today. I'm watching it like a hawk on preview mode. So I'll finish just trimming this up, and I just want to make them a little rounder. You know, there's the stem at the top that I was talking about. I used my U-gouge and just dug down a little bit to create some relief for that. Generally, I just left the bottom flat. So I'm just going to trim all this up, make it nice and clean. As you can see, there's some pretty ugly lines in there. So I'm going to try and smooth that. And if my knife can't do it, my sandpaper sure can. Anyway, once again, really appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, drop some comments, and if you're carving anything, you want to share it with me, post it on your YouTube, and or send me the link to your Facebook or something, and I'll happily go have a look at that. So, thanks for watching.